Okay, so we'll start with a thought experiment. Let's say you're a movie star and you've delivered an acclaimed performance right in time for award season. You win the Critics' Choice Award, the Golden Globe, the Screen Actors Guild Award, and the BAFTA Award for Best Actor. And the Oscars are next month. What would it take for you to lose the Academy Award despite having the most possible momentum? With that in mind, this is 23-year-old Russell Crowe in the long-running Australian soap opera Neighbours. This was Russell Crowe's first significant role, and it led to about a decade of consistent work in Australia. He would later describe the Neighbours script as awful and said he only accepted the part because of a fight scene where he gets to assault Craig McLachlan while getting strangled by the show's star Kylie Minogue. After establishing himself as a leading man in Australia, Russell Crowe bounced around in Hollywood with a few supporting roles, and his true breakout came in 1997's Best Picture nominee LA Confidential. He was a bit too fresh-faced to take awards attention away from the film's more established stars, like future Oscar winner Kim Basinger, and future YouTuber whose accusers keep mysteriously dying, Kevin Spacey.
Hey, you know me, I'm keeping the streets safe, boys.
But it was enough to get our boy into the conversation. In 1999, Russell Crowe appeared in his most daring role yet, security camera footage of a nightclub brawl. According to alleged victim Brett Martin, Crowe punched him, broke his thumb, and bit his neck. This case and the lengthy blackmail suit that followed didn't end up going anywhere, but it is an early sign of what's to come. Oh, and also that year he was in the Michael Mann film The Insider, where he plays a tobacco executive turned whistleblower. I'd never say it's easy to get any Oscar nomination, but when you're a rising star leading a Best Picture nominee about a hot-button topic from an acclaimed director and you're playing a real person, you kinda check all the boxes. So he campaigned, and apparently people really did like the performance because he got nominated. But The Insider was a box office bomb, and Crowe had to compete against much bigger stars. But I'm sure the Academy will never regret giving Kevin Spacey his second Oscar.
Keeping the streets safe, boys.
The very next year, Russell Crowe was already back on the campaign trail. He had another controversy to deal with, breaking Meg Ryan's heart, but this time he had a much bigger film behind him. For context, in the late 90s, the Academy had been favoring more small and independent films than ever before. In 1997, Billy Crystal said this:
"It's the year of the independent film."
When people nowadays point at the Oscar nominations and say, "Who cares? No one's even heard of these movies," this is when that started.
And back then, and the weirdest one of all, the major studios were nominated for Oscars. It was a strange time.
There's so much to say about this era, but the point is, indie films started dominating the Oscars, which caused a bit of a backlash in favor of popular films. Enter Gladiator. Second highest grossing film of the year, massive budget, tons of action, and decent enough reviews. They're not going to nominate Mission Impossible 2, so Gladiator is the perfect film to mark the return of the huge, expensive epics that used to sweep the Oscars. I mean, I guess Titanic happened, but whatever, go off Billy Crystal. Anyway, Russell Crowe plays the lead, and many in the industry thought he was robbed of the Oscar for last year's The Insider, so his nomination is basically guaranteed. The win, however, is not. Let's look at the Best Actor precursors. Jamie Bell won at the BAFTAs. Benicio del Toro won at SAG. Tom Hanks won at the Golden Globes. Russell Crowe did win the Critics' Choice Award, but that's the least significant of the big four precursors at the time. So things are divided. Sorta. When Oscar nominations came out, Benicio del Toro was nominated for supporting instead of lead, and Jamie Bell wasn't nominated anywhere. So it ended up being Crowe v. Hanks for the win, and I guess the Academy didn't want to give Tom Hanks 3 Oscars in under a decade, because yeah, Russell Crowe won. Just 1 year after his first nomination, 3 years after his breakthrough, and 13 years after his career began, Russell Crowe is an Oscar winner. And now he can finally slow down. Until the next year when he stars in an even bigger awards juggernaut, A Beautiful Mind. And this time, there is no question about Russell Crowe's status as the frontrunner. The 2001 award season saw him winning Best Actor at the Critics' Choice, SAG, the Golden Globes, and then the BAFTAs happened. I know that makes it sound like he lost the BAFTA, but this might be even worse. When they announced him as the winner, the ceremony was already running 30 minutes long, and Russell Crowe took the unpopular stance that award speeches need to be even longer, and the BAFTAs cut him off. When Crowe realized he wasn't able to read a poem in dedication to the passing of Richard Harris, he was pissed. During the BAFTA's after show, ceremony director Malcolm Gary was eating dinner when he was approached by goons and led into a side room in the Grosvenor Hotel. The goons turned around, shut the door, and left Malcolm alone with a furious Russell Crowe. Russell allegedly pinned Malcolm to the wall and screamed some pretty foul stuff in his face, including, "Who on earth had the fucking audacity to take out the best actor's poem? You fucking piece of shit, I'll make sure you never work in Hollywood." True to Russell Crowe's word, Malcolm really never did work in Hollywood. He stuck to the BAFTAs and other live programming in the UK. But the story did make its way across the pond, creating an immediate pivot in Crowe's Oscar chances. Before the assault, he was on his way to become the third person to win Best Actor twice in a row. Afterwards, Hollywood suddenly realizes that, oh yeah, Denzel Washington was actually pretty great in Training Day. In fact, maybe his work in 1999's The Hurricane was better than Kevin Spacey and Russell Crowe. But that's a story for a future video.
Okay. All right.
Even worse, Russell Crowe completely refused to apologize initially, but after someone informed him that, hey, this makes you look just terrible, he finally called up Malcolm Gary and apologized. But by then it was too late. Oscar voting had just opened up and Crowe was toast. Denzel cruised into his second Oscar, and pretty much everyone was in agreement that Russell Crowe's loss was completely avoidable and self-inflicted. Perhaps assaulting people who make award shows isn't the best strategy to win awards. And his career just wasn't the same afterwards. That's not to say that studios didn't continue paying him tens of millions of dollars and offering him starring roles. That was never gonna stop. I mean, even Kevin Spacey still gets work. But Russell Crowe never regained the respect he once had as an up-and-comer. In 2005, he was arrested for second-degree assault after whipping a phone at a hotel concierge's face, which he later settled for a reportedly large sum after pleading guilty. He expressed shame, but refused to acknowledge his pattern of violent outbursts, viewing himself as a victim of tabloid journalism. He would continue to get great parts in Oscar movies, but he hasn't been nominated since A Beautiful Mind. He's attached himself to critical duds, commercial duds, and in the case of 2017's The Mummy, an entire franchise dud. He's tried to avoid roles that play into his aggressive public persona, but lately that's all he can get. He was the lead in a movie literally titled Unhinged.
Why don't you just chill, man? Go your own way.
Russell Crowe had one of the sharpest critical peaks and declines of any modern star. He got 3 Oscar nominations in a row and then never again. I'm sure there are plenty of young people right now who know him more for the South Park parody of his transgressions than for any of his films. Nowadays, I doubt Al Qaeda would even bother trying to kidnap him again.
I got fired because when I get angry, I have difficulty censoring myself, and I don't like it to be pushed around.